For Friday History Day, let's do Chapter 8 from the cannabis graphic novels based on Moby Dick that I should be writing right now. Today we'll do the 1914 Harrison Narcotics Act, which is the first drug control act in American history. I'm Lex Pelger. I do Canna Education for CV Sciences, the makers of Plus CBD, who has excellent CBD and THC products. On the cannabinoids, ask me anything. So this story is more about opium and cocaine and a man named Hamilton Wright. Hamilton Wright was the first delegate at the first opium convention of 1911. And he had a big problem with opium. Because the guess was around 1900 or so that there were 250,000 opiate addicts in the U.S. And a lot of these were coming from pharmacies and from doctors. If you know the play A Long Day's Journey into Night by Eugene O'Neill, that's about his mother getting addicted to opiates that she got freely from her pharmacist. Another reason that Wright knew that it was a good time to push for these narcotics control measures was because the myth of the cocaine-crazed Negro had been picking up steam. Especially coming out of the South, there were these police reports about black men on cocaine who were said to be unstoppable by bullets. And so not only did this help to pave the way for drug control laws, it also led to some of the first militarization of the police force when these southern police forces started getting .38 specials, which are big guns compared to the small service revolvers they were using before. So in 1911, the U.S. harangued everyone else in the world to gather at the first opium convention in The Hague. The other country was pushing for it was China because they were sick of Britain pushing opium into their jurisdiction. As far as cannabis goes, the Italian delegation said they wouldn't come unless Indian hemp was also on the table, but they only attended the first day of the conference, then they didn't show up again. Wright got these countries to agree to work on laws that would restrict the uncontrolled sales of opiate and cocaine derivatives, though a number of countries who had important trades in these drugs didn't show up to the conference. In addition, on cannabis, all that he could get them agreed to was to further study the drug, which in bureaucratic speak means nothing. So Wright goes home with what he thinks is a mandate for the U.S. to pass anti-narcotics laws. But he keeps getting stymied at every turn. For, as he said, the U.S. Constitution kept getting in the way. At that point, the federal government was much, much weaker in terms of police power and taxation power. And so they didn't really feel like they had the right to control these drugs. 2 more opium conventions happened, and still the U.S. had no anti-narcotics laws. Until, finally, Francis Burton Harrison, a representative, introduced the Harrison Narcotics Act to control these drugs. There was a lot of resistance to this bill, especially in the Senate. The pharmacists thought that it put too much paperwork on them. The American Medical Association wanted to use it to increase their stranglehold on the U.S. drug supply so they could make more money. But finally, using lies about addiction and racism, they finally got this bill passed in a way that restricted the use of these drugs to dispensation by doctors. It was the first piece of true narcotics control law in U.S. history, and it barely survived a number of Supreme Court challenges who saw it as going too far beyond what the Constitution allowed. Cannabis was included in this law up until the very end, until it got removed because doctors thought that it was too important medically to be under this bill. And thus began the U.S. drug control regime.